Google overhauls core engine to run exclusively on Gemini 3.5 Flash, audited SpaceX S-1 filing exposed xAI's 6.4 batter operating burn rate, and Pope Leo XIV issues landmark encyclical Magnifica Humanitas on strict AI regulation and disarmament. Welcome to iNuku.com, AI news you can use. What if I told you the world's most aggressive AI lab just burned through $6.4 billion in a single fiscal year and is secretly relying on its biggest rival to stay afloat with $1 billion a month compute contract? I mean, it sounds like complete corporate fiction. But if you actually dig into the audited, unfiltered reality of the new AI economy, specifically the recent SpaceX S-1 SEC filing for their public offering, it's all there. You're probably wondering how a loss that big even happens. Let's tear the lid off the economics of intelligence. The financial numbers for xAI for fiscal year 2025 are staggering. They pulled in about $3.2 billion in top-line revenue, which is great for a company this young, especially with Grok natively on the X platform and their premium API subscribers. But their operating loss was $6.4 billion. They are spending $2 for every dollar they make just to keep the lights on. To really understand the scale, look at their capital expenditure, the physical infrastructure, servers, and real estate. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, xAI spent $7.7 billion. That's in 90 days. We are talking nation-state levels of investment, deploying the GDP of a small country into server racks over a 3-month period. How do you finance a hole that deep? This is the ultimate plot twist. That massive cash burn is heavily underwritten by a compute contract with Anthropic. Yes, Anthropic. They are paying xAI $1.25 billion per month through May 2029 just to lease time on their Colossus supercomputer. Let that sink in. Anthropic, the company building the Claude model and fighting tooth and nail against xAI in the enterprise market, is paying their rival over $1 billion a month. That is like Ford paying Chevy $1 billion a month to use Chevy's factories to build trucks that directly compete with Chevy's. It shatters the public illusion of this vendor war. Structurally, they are deeply codependent because compute is the only currency that matters. So who is actually making the real money here? The central bank of the compute economy, NVIDIA. NVIDIA remains the central bank of the compute economy, reporting a staggering Q1 net income that skyrocketed 211% year over year to $58.3 billion. $500 billion of hardware is being demanded by hyperscalers and sovereign buyers to keep up with the intense need for expanded compute clusters. And they pulled this off without full access to China, even as U.S. officials warn firms like Supermicro to tighten export compliance. These labs aren't buying chips for today's balance sheet. They believe whoever achieves artificial general intelligence first will capture global economic growth. But running these agents 24/7 costs money. ASUS just unveiled a hybrid architecture strategy across their commercial ExpertBook and NUC mini PCs to cut cloud inference costs by up to 70%. They use adaptive memory extension to trick standard systems into using fast solid-state storage as expanded VRAM. It allows local machines to run massive 26 billion and 35 billion parameter models. It's the ultimate pressure release valve, routing complex tasks to the cloud and mid-tier tasks locally. And as processing shifts, the cost of building software is collapsing. Cursor is quietly becoming one of the fastest growing software companies ever, hitting a $3 billion annualized revenue run rate. They shipped Composer 2.5, dropping the price for frontier coding to almost zero, 50 cents per million input tokens and $2.50 for output. They did this through reinforcement learning post-training. Instead of just pre-training a base model, like teaching a student to read by reading the whole internet, they locked their moonshot Kimi K2.5 model in a room with a compiler. Trial and error. They punish it when code breaks and reward it when it works. It's so effective that SpaceX secured the right to acquire Cursor for $60 billion outright or pay a $10 billion walkaway fee. Managers are freaking out. Spotify reported that 99% of their engineers use AI coding tools weekly, resulting in a 94% productivity lift and a 76% increase in pull request frequency. This is why the talent war is escalating. Andrej Karpathy just officially joined Anthropic as a research scientist to work on Claude's pre-training. And Google DeepMind just proved AI is moving past predictive text with their alpha-proof Nexus breakthrough. They paired a creative large language model with a rigorous formal proof assistant called Lean. The LLM guesses creatively, Lean verifies the formal logic, and they iterate. Together, they solved 9 open Erdos mathematics problems, 2 of which were unsolved by humans for 56 years, and 44 open OEIS conjectures. If AI is solving 56-year-old math problems and driving our computers, what happens to the consumer web? Google completely overhauled their core search engine at I/O 2026. The concept of keyword crawling is dead. They transitioned the entire search experience to be natively powered by Gemini 3.5 Flash. No more AI tabs, it's just the default. This coincided with a massive 14-day core algorithmic update that threw SEO into chaos. The web is being restructured for AI agents to retrieve data. Over 1 billion monthly active users are now in this AI-first interface. They also rolled out Gemini Omni, which natively edits multimodal video, and the Universal Cart. You can ask your Google agent to build a custom PC under $1,500, and the AI automatically sources components from 3 different retailers, checks compatibility, and checks you out across all 3 businesses simultaneously. They are pushing this directly into your face, launching smart glasses with Samsung, Warby Parker, and Gentle Monster. Plus, Anti-Gravity 2.0 lets anyone build complex apps through natural language. It's like replacing the Dewey Decimal System with a super librarian who reads the book, writes a sequel, and buys the merch for you. Meanwhile, the global map of AI power is being redrawn. Alibaba launched their Qwen 3.7 Max model, scoring a 69.7 on Terminal Bench 2.0 and beating Western models. DeepSeek made their 75% price cut completely permanent on their V4 Pro model. And India is executing a massive blueprint for vernacular AI. At the Bihar AI Summit, policymakers prioritized hyper-localized models natively fluent in regional dialects like Hindi, Bhojpuri, and Maithili to bypass English-centric literacy barriers for rural populations. Canada just injected $16.5 million into the Greater Toronto Area to scale homegrown AI, funding sovereign companies like Cosm Medical and Edgecom Energy to keep intellectual property within their borders. In the United States, regulation is experiencing massive whiplash. States are advancing aggressive bills. California is pushing bans on unconsented digital replicas. Illinois passed the AI Safety Measures Act for frontier developers. New York is mandating third-party bias audits and pushing to ban interactive chatbot toys. But at the federal level, the administration reversed a planned executive order for safety oversight. Instead, the White House approved a classified $9 billion funding request to acquire high-end AI processors for deep espionage. Anthropic is finalizing a highly classified contract with the NSA to deploy their frontier models directly into secure, air-gapped government networks physically disconnected from the internet. This urgency is driven by Anthropic's Project Glasswing and the unreleased Mythos model, which found over 10,000 high or critical severity vulnerabilities in a single month. It can independently write zero-day exploit code to completely take over systems. Right in the middle of this military escalation, Pope Leo XIV issued a landmark papal encyclical titled Magnifica Humanitas. Standing alongside Anthropic's Chris Olah, the Pope explicitly called for the strict disarmament of AI, warning against autonomous weapon systems operating beyond human moral reach and the opaque concentration of digital infrastructure in big tech's hands. This velocity is taking a massive physical and psychological toll. A new study from G-Check exposed the double distortion of the workforce. 63% of workers surveyed, and 80% of Gen Z, admit they are actively exaggerating their AI skills to management. They are terrified of losing their jobs to automation, but pressured to look like AI power users. They pretend to use Copilot in meetings, but do the work manually in secret. Over 80% admitted they discourage or limit using AI at work. Companies using AI as a scapegoat for layoffs are pouring gasoline on this resentment. Meta just executed 8,000 layoffs, reassigned 7,000 employees to their AI department, and doubled their 2026 AI budget to between $125 and $145 billion. Leaked audio even revealed they are using tracking devices to feed employee workflows directly into their LLMs. The physical world is feeling the strain too. In Utah and across states like Virginia, Maine, Texas, and New Jersey, public pushback is rippling across the United States. Local residents are furious and organizing protests over the land, water, and power that these massive AI data center facilities will drain. And for all these trillions being spent, AI still struggles with physical chaos. There are times to take a robotaxi, and there are times when you need a human driver. I found this out the hard way this week. I was staying in San Francisco, heading to Mountain View for the Google I/O keynote. I took a Waymo. It cost me $102.72. We hit massive traffic in Mountain View, and instead of taking a creative alternate route like a human driver, the Waymo got hopelessly confused. It pulled into a Google campus parking lot and essentially froze. I had to get remote support on the speakerphone just to get dropped off safely. Waymo gave me a $10 credit for the trouble, but it was a perfect illustration. Human intuition, context, and strategic rule-breaking still vastly outpace machine logic in the chaotic physical world. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at anuq.com. To summarize, we are in the middle of the fastest technological infrastructure rollout in human history. The immediate actionable insights for you are clear. First, prepare for the subscription-first web. The traditional ad-supported internet is breaking as AI search engines synthesize answers natively. Second, local hardware is back. Look into hybrid computing solutions for your enterprise to bypass crushing cloud inference costs. And third, be aware of the double distortion inside your own teams. Mandated AI use without psychological safety just leads to faked productivity. The companies that win this transition won't just adopt AI faster. They'll build the trust, infrastructure, and operational discipline to use it intelligently. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from inuku.com. AI news you can use.